We made it.
Sorry, I was in the middle of watching the end of this dramatic Sunday night football, but we're here anticlimatically a little bit.
Yeah. It is very much anticlimactic, a bit of a letdown, though. But regardless, though, gang, good evening. This is still, though, a Code Red episode of Press Row. We are following and monitoring breaking news in the sports world. Sirens are not blaring, sadly, because, again, it's very anticlimactic. But we still, though, are kind of in emergency mode right here on ETB. As always, brought to you by Playback and by Novig. That is Nick Morganson, who is soldiering on into our, 10 of network coverage today here on ETB. From Plainview, New York, I'm Cal McClurg in San Diego. We are working closely with sources, reporters, and social media timelines and more to bring you clear, accurate reporting on tonight's breaking news story. As a quick reminder, though, again, follow us on social media, on Twitter, IG, and TikTok, all at ETB Network. And make sure that you're also subscribed to us on YouTube at youtube.com/ETB Network, and also help us pursue our 4,000 watch hour goal. We're always, of course, brought to you by Playback TV, the real-time fan-first experience where you can watch games with us, react live, jump on mic, and connect with your fellow sports diehards across the NBA, MLB, and soccer, all happening here on Playback. Sign up for free at playback.tv and never watch sports alone again. We're also brought to you by Novig, America's #1 sports prediction market, where you're 10 times more likely to win long-term compared to a traditional sports book because you're playing against the house and playing against real users and not the house. Sign up for free on novig.us or download the app and use the promo code ETB Network for exclusive bonuses when you sign up. Well, Nick, about half an hour ago, before the WNBA CBA was set to expire, they've officially agreed to extend that deadline until January of 2026. We have a quick story update here from Annie Costabel, who's been following the story so well for Front Office Sports at this rate. She writes in part that the WNBA and WNBPA have agreed to a second extension of the current CBA minutes before the first extension was set to expire at midnight on Sunday. It will now run out officially January 9th of next year. Per the Players Union, they write in a statement that we expect substantive movement from the league within this window. Nick, a 3-week or 21-day extension was proposed by the league, a source with direct knowledge of the negotiations confirmed to FOS. The union had countered back with a 24-hour extension before proposing a 6-week extension starting today. When the deal was supposed to expire, ultimately the players and owners agreed to extending the CBA by nearly 6 weeks, similar to the previous extension. Both sides have the option to opt out of the new deadline within 48 hours notice. So, Nick, let's get to the first burning question of the night, though. Nick, how significant, though, is the fact that this extension was agreed upon with literally 30 minutes left before the stoppage would have occurred? And what is that? And what, though, does the high stakes timing tell us about the current state of trust and communications? I know, Nick, I think we are both, pretty frustrated with how this whole thing has gone on, though, over the last several weeks.
Well, this sounds more like a PR saving tactic than really whether it has to do with whether they were really desperately locked in the room when they say, when we used to talk about MLB and MLBPA, they say they lock themselves in a room for 2 days and they don't come out until they have a negotiation. I don't the media, and who knows, the WNBA and the WNBPA could be lying to our faces about what they're actually doing. But this sounds more PR than it actually does sound like real movement is being made. I don't believe half the shit that they're saying right now currently. But how do you go from being 30 minutes away from... Now, we got to explain something first. So even if we got to the lockout time or the expiring of the CBA extension, that didn't mean there necessarily was going to be a lockout. They could have kept going at those terms, which most people don't realize they could have kept going. And I guess they call that on good terms, essentially, where you agree to continue to negotiate even if the deal is up. But to agree to an extension, which, by the way, we heard conflicting reports from Ramona Shelburne and Alexandra Philippou and Annie Costabel, who didn't know if it was going to be 24 hours, if it was going to be 6 weeks, if it was going to be 21 days, which is 3 weeks. So a lot of conflicting reports, and some people are going to say, well, the conflicting reports were because the WNBA and the WNBPA are trying to mask this so it doesn't look as bad as it looks. No, I think it's that both sides clearly don't know what each other wants at all whatsoever.
Yeah, Nick, I think we're both pretty fed up because we were along the lines of that Halloween was going to be when the first deadline was going to pass. Then we find out though, like I think the day before they would, extend it for a full month. Now we get here, Nick, and we're in StreamYard. We're working on benchmarks episodes. You're watching the end of SNF. We're also flipping through timelines and through front office sports and Sportico and Twitter timelines about what exactly do we need to talk about here. And then literally, I kid you not, half an hour ago, at the bottom of the hour at 8:30 Pacific, I believe is when we got notice from Yahoo or somebody who said, developing story, the league and the players have agreed to a full extension until January 9th of next year, which I don't know, Nick, how to feel about this. And, I think you're right, though. This could be smoke and mirrors for all that we know. But also, I think more than anything else, though, this again, Nick, feels like it's a damn PR spin. I mean,
like I was saying, yeah.
Why would you put this out half an hour before the deadline? And basically, Nick, have every women's basketball fan kind of in a way for the last hour be glued to their phone, scrolling through Twitter, scrolling through, news publications about what is the latest news that they have. And then to have the very brief one, like half paragraph long press release come out. We're going to extend this by a month, 2 months or whatever. I don't like how this is being handled. I really don't. Now, again, this is not the first time that there's been a extension of a CBA. Again, I think we talked about 2019, 2020, there was an extension, but not though, Nick, like this, where now this feels so prolonged and dragged out now. And Nick, I seriously will probably say they're not locked in any rooms right now negotiating. I mean, Nick, we heard openly from Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull at a golf tournament a couple weeks ago. We're not going to negotiate. Like, we don't really care. Lexi Hull was at the Colts game today in Indianapolis with her boyfriend, I think. And, who knows what Sophie's doing. So, like, these players in the league are not anywhere, Nick, near like what you were saying about baseball. They're not right now putting in the time and effort. And I think that's a reflection of both sides here. Again, as much as we love to clown Kathy and pile on the league front office, Nick, both sides are guilty here. Both of them in a way have blood on their hands at this rate when it comes to how this has been handled. I think, though, it's been mishandled not once, Nick, but now twice within a full calendar month passing by here tonight.
Yes, so let's go back in the timeline a little bit because I want to point out some things that I thought were interesting in this. So around an hour ago, the WNBPA tells ESPN in a statement, quote, we have proposed a 6-week extension. We expect substantive movement from the league within this window. So we, according to the WNBPA, not both sides, not
just the players,
nothing from the league. This is literally the WNBPA saying we're not seeing substantive movement from the league. Originally, the source said that they were proposing a 21-day extension, so the news is all over the place.
Yeah, because, Nick, like I said, though, Andy Costabile wrote on FOS, we heard about a 24-hour extension to move it to Monday, December 1st. Then we heard about a 21-day extension. We heard a 6-week extension. Like, where are we going here? Like, I know that this is a negotiating war in a way, like an auction war, but one day goes to 3 weeks, then goes to 6 weeks, and then it goes to January 9th. Like, are they sitting there throwing darts at a corkboard right now with people's faces on them for some reason?
They might. I mean, I don't know what to believe. Like now you have the AP writing stories on this, which, by the way, the AP is not going to know shit compared to like all these articles, which I guarantee you this goes back to the PR spin. that they want everybody to write all these stories to make the league look like a complete asshole in the process. But at the same time, the WNBPA looks like an asshole too
That goes to
because
my point where I said that both parties are guilty. Kathy and them they're guilty. Hate to say it, players are just as guilty, if not more guilty, perhaps in people's minds than the league front office is. But I think, though, more than anything else, Nick, I think though it's more blame can be cast on the front office, though. But let's not exempt the players fully from this whole ordeal.
there's another one I wanted to point out too, and I have to pull it back up. The because Ramona Shelburne of ESPN, by the way, has done a pretty significant job on hitting all the points here.
Yes.
Let me see what I got. Okay, so this was 50 minutes ago. Big picture on tonight's WNBA developments. She says, in my opinion, there's not really a time pressure on either side, except setting a date for the expansion draft. No games until the spring, so theoretically, CBA extensions could keep going on for a bit. Both sides would like to avoid a work stoppage, but there's not really work to stop right now.
No, there isn't. And that might be the saving grace moment right now, Nick, for the W, is that this is happening in December. Now, I think the only thing, though, and I think we'll get to this a little bit later in the show, though, is that there are two more teams joining the W come next season, which involves, as Ramona wrote, though, in her commentary about the expansion draft, and we'll talk more about that later on in the program. But, Nick, let's move on, though, here. So, again, this is now the second extension of the CBA. Nick, is the shorter length of this extension, roughly maybe 40 days down from the league's or the players' proposed 6 weeks, is this a sign perhaps in your mind of urgency or a sign, though, of continued deadlock between both sides where I think, Nick, we're just kind of stuck right now in the mud where I feel like, though, that there's been no progress made. We've not heard anything other than maybe the one proposal that the league front office put out, though, like the bogus $1 million salary.
The 1.1 million for one player max, which makes no sense because that basically means that you can't negotiate a higher extension once you hit 1.1 million as a salary. So the WNBPA is by saying "F you." What do you mean we can only have one woman player on each roster that can make 1.1 million? Like, what's that all about? That makes no sense. So that's why you said it went back to the salary structure. I think the other thing which we've been discussing a lot, and it's been a kind of a needle in the haystack situation, has been the league revenue being a higher percentage for the players. If I remember correctly, what was it? 9% of the league revenue was going to the players, when in the NBA it's like a 50-50-ish split. Like, if you look at the rest of the leagues, most of them are close to 50-50.
So, furthermore, real quick, Andy Costabel's writing about where we're at, though. The main sticking point, though, remains the salary model. Last week, the league proposed a proposal that included a maximum player salary of over $1 million, which represents a historic number in the league, which had a salary cap of $1.5 million per team this past season. The figure, though, was misleading, according to multiple sources. While the league's max salary could reach more than $1.1 million with revenue sharing, the super max salary would still be in the high six figures. The supermax salary this past season was $249,244, and the minimum salary $66,079. The league and union have continued to meet, suggesting that the terms within that proposal may have changed. But there, though, Nick, is your whole look, though, at how the salaries are per Andy Costabel of FOS.
See, I don't know what to believe anymore because each side is trying to basically protect their own ass. Like,
pretty much.
And they're not doing a good job of it, if you really, for full understanding
for full
of
disclosure,
this.
they're not, neither side's helping their cause here.
I feel like we're delaying the inevitable again, because now you're going to get all the questions leading up to January 9th, which is about 4 days after our break ends for the network calendar for the year, which I'm sure you and I are going to be following that story all over the break, considering if stories happen. And if they do, we'll bring them because we'll have plenty of time to do so. The other part also, which I think you mentioned before, both sides have the option to opt out of the new deadline within 48 hours notice. Now,
correct.
Why are you putting that clause in there? Are you expecting some sort of situation where you guys just can't come to an agreement? Is that why that clause is in there?
I mean, I would think so, Nick. And I don't know if that's common practice in other leagues that we've seen who've had disputes or have had labor stoppages where they would have to put in like a 2-day, 4-day clause about who can opt out. Um, I think though, Nick, to the question, is it urgency or just deadlock? I think, Nick, it's just deadlock. I mean, like Ramona said, though, we're not really affecting league business right now. So
Y-
again, the season won't start till May. I mean,
But
all that we're really worrying about is expansion draft for Toronto and Portland more than anything else.
actually, I disagree on the contrary because you are affecting league business because how can you first of all, they shouldn't have held the expansion draft because there's technically no CBA negotiations in place. They're claiming that because their deadlock keeps the CBA in place, that's why they're
Which I
able to
think
do
is which I think is bogus. I mean, if it's a deadlock, then you need to stop operation. Then if that's the case,
because the only reason they're staying in business is due to a technicality, not because of any
and we
particular reason.
and we had kind of talked off air about that because we were both again we've been confused by this whole thing because I think Alexa Philippou had even written that if the deadline would have passed at 8:59 Pacific time, midnight Eastern practically, that I think she wrote, Nick, that the league could still like keep some kind of business operations going in some weird way with that deadlock. But I I
They
think
can keep the whole operation going technically because they said that they could still technically run on the old CBA. But here's the problem. So why why would you have a contract agreement to a deadline if you have the ability to keep the same agreement in place after a deadline is met? That's really not a contract then, is it?
yeah, you wouldn't think so. I mean, if in a way it would feel like, Nick, us being back in college and we're out partying all weekend, we're going to watch our teams play and we remember, oh shoot, I got a project I got to finish, and you turn it in right before deadline. If it doesn't get turned in before the deadline, Nick, what do you think happens?
You're
You
failing.
get an F. That's what it kind of feels like here in this situation is that if they would have crossed the timeline in a way, no pun intended, but you cross the timeline into midnight Eastern, 9 o'clock Pacific, without the extension made half an hour beforehand, then that should null and void the CBA, and you have to go on strike or something.
See, like I'm reading some of the stuff that um Annie wrote, and the league and the union, this goes back at the timeline a little, but the league and the union agreed to a 30-day extension ahead of the original October 31st deadline despite meeting regularly over the last 4 weeks, including throughout the holiday weekend. They failed to make the progress required to ratify a new CBA. Okay, time out. If you couldn't ratify a new CBA, then didn't the timeline technically elapse?
I mean, you would think, right? And we were of that belief, though, today, leading up to today's, tonight's show. We were of that belief, though. Now, I mean, Nick, could you imagine being a fly on the wall in those meetings right now
Who
between the
knows if
players?
they're having meetings though?
That goes to my point from earlier in the show, where it just feels like they've done nothing. Like I said, Nick, we heard from Lexi Hull and Sophie Cunningham at a LPGA golf tournament that they basically said that no progress has been made. You know, screw Kathy, screw the fever, screw everybody out there. We're not getting what we want, basically, in a roundabout way. Like I said, Lexi Hull was at the Colts game today with her boyfriend, in downtown Indianapolis. So, again, that went to my original point, though. Are they even actually locking themselves in a room? Now, even to this point, though, Nick, like we said, though, if, per what Annie wrote, though, 4 days of meetings involving the holiday, I don't buy that for at all. I
That and
really don't.
that's what's not making sense because if they really were in meetings, don't you think they would have somehow come to an agreement of some sort for like
I think
the
I
skeleton of a
think
CBA?
Yeah, I think we would have at least heard something regarding some kind of, in a way, it feels like we're sitting through the Catholic Church trying to vote for a new pope. as we saw over
Oh,
the
wait,
past
you're waiting
couple
for
of.
the white or the
They're
black
waiting for the
smoke.
white smoke to come out of the chimney of the Sistine Chapel.
I'll never forget that. I remember that when that
Yeah, but, I
happened.
mean, it's momentous thing, but but I make that comparison though, Nick, because you would think though, if they were actually negotiating, Nick, we'd be hearing some like off the rails commentary from your girl Angel Reese or Caitlin or especially Nafisa Collier or any player who's on the WNBPA board. You would have thought you would have heard some kind of commentary about, hey, we've been meeting, we're trying to make this right, or hey, Kathy sucks, we need new leadership. But to have radio silence and static for 4 days, allegedly with them having meetings, and there not be any kind of answer, yes, no, kiss my ass, whatever. Who cares?
Well, this is the problem. Where is Nafisa Collier? Sophie's been speaking nonstop. She's been on her show saying stuff, but nothing from Caitlin Clark, nothing from like an Asia Wilson,
Yeah.
who are like some of the biggest names in the sport. No Paige Beckers, no anything. Like nothing from the Liberty, because that's one of the biggest teams in the sport. Nothing from Stewie. Like nothing.
I mean, I don't know, man. I don't get it. I really don't understand it. It's
Here's
just
another thing
bonkers.
too. So we talked about last week with the presented proposal of, and when I say air quote, a player salary of $1 million, because that was a complete fabricated lie, which represented a historic number in the league, which had a salary cap of 1.5 million per team. Think about that for a second.
A
1.5,
league salary cap is $1.5 million.
and the players are fighting for a $1 million salary. That's a significant.
That's huge.
That's almost 100% of a salary cap.
Unreal. Nick, more importantly for question 3 here for the first segment of the night here. Again, folks, welcome into Press Row, our Code Red edition. Again, very anticlimactic evening here from San Diego in Plainview, New York, as mentioned earlier. But if you're just joining us here about 22 minutes after the hour here on what is either December 1st or still November 30th here on the West Coast, the WNBA and WNBPA have officially agreed within half an hour before the deadline would have hit, agreed to move the deadline for a new CBA to be ratified on January 9th. That, of course, broke at 8:30 Pacific, 11:30 Eastern, about 29 minutes shy of the deadline actually coming and going. But, Nick, as we kind of were getting a bit into the weeds about what immediate logistical nightmare was avoided tonight, though, by preventing a lockout from beginning, like the expansion draft being halted and also free agency discussions. Again, I don't know how to feel about this still. I really don't. Nothing was accomplished other than the fact that we got a PR spun press release that, hey, everything's fine. Kiss my ass.
Have you noticed also that this is the second straight time that it came all the way down to the wire, and then they decided to just throw out? Oh, sorry, we put an extension.
If memory serves me correct, didn't the first deadline, was that averted a day before or 2 days before? Or was it also day of?
It was the day before because we had it all planned out and we were going to do it, and then we saved it again, another extension. But you said what immediate logistical nightmare was about? No, nothing was avoided. Like this is literally not to steal from our own network, but moving the goalposts a little bit here. No pun intended. But we're just going to keep pushing those goalposts out until eventually we get somewhere. I mean, I'd rather see like a UFC cage match and see them bare knuckle brawl it rather than sit in a room and fight. Like,
interesting perspective. Christy Wilson wrote into the chat box, Nick. What do you think about this? I'm beginning to think that the players just don't care anymore. I mean, it's kind of tough to gauge, to be very honest, Christy, just because I wouldn't say that they don't care anymore. I think they're just more like you, me, and Nick. I think they're all just pissed off and frustrated about how this whole process has gone, to be very honest.
I don't know. It's tough to say the players are in the wrong, though, because they've been fighting this salary battle for
damn long.
Decade plus. Like, these athletes don't make enough money. And now that the WNBA has become a star league with all its big names, and they're not willing to go past the 9% in shared revenue to the players, that's the number that's more the issue. I think, trust me, the salaries are too low. I get it. But at the same time, this needs to get closer to like 20 or 30% to have any type of conversation to move forward.
Yeah, Christy, I get your perspective. I don't think it's a players don't care anymore sentiment, though I
I think they're
agree, though.
upset.
I think, yeah, I think all three of us would agree, though, that they're pissed off. They're tired of fighting, like in a way, they're getting tired of fighting back against the league, though, because, again, like I've said for the third time already here, Nick, Lexi Hall and Sophie Cunningham accompanied Caitlin Clark to that golf event. Sophie basically told the press when she was asked about it, the league hasn't done one damn thing different in the negotiation process.
Well, the fan yelled at her saying, make sure you come back. And I think she said, well, then they need to pay me or pay us.
That's what it was. Yeah. I think it was, not really a heckler, but a fan who was saying, hey, make sure, come on back to Indiana, basically. That's when she made the quip, though, about, well, they need to pay me first.
And I don't know if that's going to change because the league has been so stubborn for so long that they're going to do what they do. The players are going to do what they do. You have two strong-minded sides that are fighting for their own points of view. Do I think the players are a little... I'm trying to think of the right word. Little over the top at times? Yes. Because remember, it takes two sides to tango in an argument. Like, could one side be more wrong than the other? Yeah, of course.
And that's how we both, I think, Nick, we both mutually agree that that's how we feel about both the league and the league front office, and also with the players as well.
And you and I are going to say this forever, but this is a Kathy issue running as the commissioner of the league running it, that she's never going to change because in her mind, she thinks Unrivaled and Project B and Players United and the Players Era, like they're not competitors in her mind. So if she thinks those are not competitors, then she believes that she has the most valuable league across the entire world.
So, Nick, both Alexa Philippou and Ramona Shelburne and MV Volpel have all teamed up for a recent announcement on ESPN.com. Philippou and Shelburne, again, kind of reiterate the whole thing. It's officially now a 40-day extension starting today that will carry us through January 9th of next year for the potential new salary, or the new CBA, I should say. In part of their story, Philippou and Shelburne both confirmed that both the WNBA and the players were not moved by the $1.1 million proposals we already said. Sources tell ESPN as they felt it did not feature a system in which the salary cap and thus players' salaries would significantly grow with the business, as is the case in the NBA, where the salary cap is directly determined by BRI, or basketball-related income. Players no longer want a salary cap that, in their view, is chosen arbitrarily at about $1.5 million last season and grows at a fixed rate of 3% each year underneath the current CBA. The current agreement also has a separate revenue sharing provision that grants direct payments to players if the league hits certain revenue targets. This is yet to happen, largely because of the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, where the season was played at the IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida. So the league just remains stubborn, Nick, and they have not gotten out of their COVID-19 bubble in 5 years.
Wait a minute. Time out. They're still blaming COVID from 2020?
Yeah.
Really?
The current agreement also has a separate revenue sharing provision that grants direct payments to players if the league hits certain revenue targets. This is yet to happen per Philippou and Shelburne, largely because of the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Okay, if we're stuck in the COVID bubble still, and we're going to blame COVID-19 for the reason that WNBA that we're not willing to pay the players a more proper percentage of WNBA revenue, we might as well just lock out and put the two sides in cages and call it a day. Because
are we also really sure, though, that it's taken 5 years for all these teams to make back all the lost revenue from fans being at games?
I don't buy that for a second. Remember how I said to you while we were sitting and talking that there's pieces of the story that are missing? I First of all, what people forget is a lot of the WNBA owners are owners of what?
NBA teams.
So I don't want to hear shit that they're not making money because because a lot of these owners operate two franchises. Okay, and before someone says to me, "Well, the WNBA and the NBA are separate. They have separate salary cut." Guys, they're all run under an NBA provision.
And before anybody gives me that, well, they lost $50 million, show me
There's no
where.
proof of that. Number one, that one, you saw me get mad when that statement came out because number one, the WNBA, like every other professional league, is a private entity.
They don't
So
have to give you the numbers, folks.
they don't have to share the numbers. Now, would it be in their best interest, maybe, to let people in on the financial structure of the league so we don't question them every single time they say, well, you should be paying them more. Oh, we don't have the money. But why don't you have the money? It's like a bad version of the game Pong, where you just keep hitting the ball back and forth, like really slowly. And tell Clay Travis that his claim that the league would. First of all, don't believe anything Clay Travis says. He's a political buffoon. He's constantly going after Pablo Torre for the gender stuff. Also, Clay is an idiot. I wouldn't listen to him anyway. But give us numbers. Give us proof. Because now you're in a stage where you keep saying that you're going to make excuses all the way back to COVID and say you haven't recovered. I'm sorry, that excuse is a little bit old at this point. What are we, 5 years now
5 years.
removed from it? So I'm sorry, I just don't buy that. Like that's oh, in the because I worked in political talk radio for years. That's called filibustering, meaning that you're just going to keep saying and saying and saying until you get held in contempt of court if you keep speaking. Someone will do that to delay proceedings. I think the WNBA is filibustering and delaying the proceedings that are going on currently because the WNBPA has a strong point of view that they should be paying more because of the value they actually bring.
Nick, one more for the opening segment here for the WNBPA's. The short-term win of avoiding a holiday season lockout worth giving up the leverage a work stoppage would have created. I don't know how to feel about that either.
There's no leverage.
I don't think, Nick, does either side have any leverage here? I don't think so.
Hell no, they don't. Because one, I forgot, I was reading a player or two who said it yesterday, I can't remember who, because not every player is like Sophie or Caitlin or Asia Wilson or at the top where maybe they survive with their WNBA salaries because they do a bunch of outside things or they have shoe deals.
We would be there too.
Sabrina with her Nike deal. There are players that are not as fortunate.
Yeah.
To have that are making what currently somewhere between 60,000 and 100,000 maybe. And I laugh when people say also that, well, they make more than the average person does for the year. First of all, I find that statement dumb every single time.
Same. There's
no way to know around this great country in the US what the average salary is because every state, every minimum wage, every salary wage is different.
You're telling that a guy who lives in a state, Nick, where it's 13% state tax.
I mean, ours is high too, but in New York,
13% state tax.
I mean, I need to look that up really quick because I don't know.
You got to be like about 9 or 10%, I'd say. But no, I mean, I don't think either side has leverage. I think that the ball is just sitting at midcourt, waiting for someone to come up and run up like it's dodgeball to grab the ball and hit someone in the face with it.
Okay, so ours is based on all salary amounts, not just one number. So it all depends on what you're making. So it's anywhere from 4% up to 11%.
13% in California.
So I don't know. I mean, to look back at that question though, does anyone have leverage? Hell no. No one has
No.
any leverage in this scenario whatsoever. Maybe a lockout would have forced them to work harder, believe it or not, knowing that because you see the bullshit where Angel Reese is going to gyms and putting up jump shots. Oh, look, I'm practicing in the gym. First of all, we need to look at the player's perspective partially because Christie's not 100% wrong with that statement of are the players what was the exact statement? The players just don't care anymore. I think there's a small amount of don't care
Yeah.
attitude coming from the players, but it comes from the standpoint of, well, we've done all this work for this league and built this league up, and now we're not reaping any benefits from it. So the players have every right to be upset, but at the same time, both sides got to work together. Like, remember as kids, they said, well, you need to learn how to share.
Right.
These sides don't know anything about share. But at the same time, the WNBA is playing the big bad bully slightly here.
Yeah.
So until the WNBA is willing to say, hey, the reason we're making the revenue is because of the players and the big names, we're not going anywhere. And what happens now? I don't know if this is coming up later on, but what happens when Sophie's going to Project B?
Nick is going to Project B. Alyssa Thomas is going to Project B.
Think about all these players who've signed there already.
Yeah, I think we have that a bit later on in the show, though, but it's a good tease, though, because obviously, Nick, we've been kind of monitoring that, though, too, because we talked, I think, though, briefly on Monday in our hour edition of Press Row about that sort of ordeal about if the lockout would have hit today, which it didn't, sadly, spoiler alert, that what would the contingent plans be for players if it wipes out the season, for example?
I don't know if it'll officially wipe out the season, but we've seen everything and anything from the two sides in this negotiating period. But I don't know what to expect anymore because the players are saying, pay me. The league is saying, oh, sorry, COVID is stopping us from having the necessary money to pay you more. No, it's that the league is incredibly cheap and doesn't want to accept the fact that it has stars that bring the value to this league. If you don't have these stars, the WNBA goes under and it ends.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is just weird. I mean,
If
it's weird.
if you don't have Caitlin Clark, what happens to the WNBA?
Yeah.
And I think that's what the owners are forgetting and what Kathy is forgetting. That because that video we watched last night, it was like a mix of different. It was Sophie's podcast. It was a bunch of other people who report on the WNBA, and I think towards the end they had said, "What happens if Caitlyn signs with Project B or Unrivaled?" And they pay her enough money, and she says, screw you to the WNBA," and doesn't come back.
Yeah. Who knows? I mean, I'm just checking Twitter to see if there's been any more updates from any of our sources. Again, folks, if you're just joining us here at about 9:39 Pacific, 12:39 a.m. Eastern on December 1st. If you were expecting us to be talking about the WNBA lockout, Will, they averted crisis for the next 6 weeks, though,
For
per
now,
reports again. For now, again, per multiple confirmed uh, messages put out by multiple sources. Again, the league and the players have agreed to a 6-week extension roughly for the next 40 days until January 9th of 2026. Nick, going back to some of the numbers involved here, again, we've heard a lot of the back and forth, though, about the salary versus revenue share. Nick, how does the league's proposed proposal that, again, we call bullshit on, which included a max salary exceeding $1.1 million, failed to satisfy the WNBPA, which views it as merely putting lipstick on a pig.
It's BS because it came out afterwards that it was really what, $800 to $850,000 was the
Kind of pushing
max.
900,000, but not a million.
So let's be clear about one thing, which is some of these women that are making 100,000, 200,000 right now at the top of the league, that's a lot of money. I think people forget that most people in this country, in this world, don't make a six-figure salary.
I don't.
I certainly don't. I never worked a full-time salary job before. I've worked all hourly positions, but
I make 11,000 a year.
So it's, let's see, at my peak from the hourly, I probably made close to 40, probably from working hourly though. So imagine how many hours that took, by the way.
Here.
But this whole thing is a joke. And I think, by the way, the WNBA likes to put out fictitious numbers and PR statements to make it look like they're the hero and the WNBPA is the evil henchman.
Yep.
And what happens sometimes is then you get the reports that come out that say, "Oh, the WNBA fudged the numbers that they put out." Well, duh, because who's in charge of the WNBA? The person who fudges information more than anybody.
Yep.
So the putting lipstick on a pig is actually a very accurate statement here.
Yep.
Because I don't believe anything Kathy or the WNBA says at this point.
No, I mean you don't. And I think the one thing though, Nick, is the one rule I always have: don't lie to me.
Yes.
Don't ever lie to me. And I feel like that is what has been going on since that proposal first came out last week about, hey, $1 million salary. Like, oh, okay. Oh, wait. Here's the subfolder. Oh, wait. Only $800,000. That's not $1 million. I'm sorry. Don't lie to me. What are you doing?
You know what that is? That's what they like to call presentation, like statements, where basically they will say, "Oh, look, let's put out the flashy PR statement to make it look like we are the good guys. Oh, we're offering 1.1 million max salaries, and the minimums will be $200,000 to $300,000." First of all, those are very generic statements that they're putting out. Also, they're not specifying how to get to those salaries or what is going to cause. Are they going to raise the $1.5 million salary cap currently? So let's think about it this way: how many players are on a roster?
I think the max is 12, maybe 13.
So if those numbers are correct, where you have to get, you said 12. So let's say it's $200,000 to $300,000. Okay, is the minimum salary.
Yep.
That means I have to do the math really quick. 200K times. No, that's not what I said. 200,000 times 12. There we go. You would need a $2.4 million salary cap at the minimum.
Jeez.
To hit at least 12 players making $200,000. Where are we at again? What number are we at again for right now?
1.1 for what they're talking about right now.
No. What's the current salary cap? 1.5.
Yeah.
So if you're going to hit a minimum for minimum salary for $200,000 to $300,000, that means you're adding an extra $900,000 to the salary cap for each team.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry, we can't do that. Well, don't promise it then.
Yeah.
If you can't, what is that dumb saying? Don't make promises that you can't keep.
Yes.
I know it's cliche, but it's true. in a sense of if you promise to do something, you promise you're going to show up to something, you promise to make a commitment to something, and then you don't follow through, you look like a jackass, not the person you're trying to help.
Yeah, and I think that it now even more like just exposes this light almost in Nick for being a fraud. I mean, if they're going to say 1.1 million salary and then, undercurrent, no, it's only $800,000, $850,000. I don't understand it. And I think that the league's right, though. I mean, I think Nick, that the players said it right, though. They're literally trying to put lipstick on a pig right now or dress it in different colors.
See, this is annoying me right now. So I'm all over Twitter, and everyone is writing stories about the extended deadline to January 9th.
Yeah, woohoo.
This is what the WNBA wanted, right?
Of course, plays right into their hands.
Because they know what do you think the WNBA knows as soon as they put a statement out with the WNBPA that there's going to be an extended deadline January 9th? Every fucking platform is going to write a story. This is playing right into the WNBA's hand. We got the attention we desired. Like, please, people need to realize the WNBA is not smart.
No.
Okay? They are just, I'm trying to think of the right word here. They're the masters of illusion.
They are.
Is the way I see it. Where they're making you think of it as an illusion that, oh, we're offering 1.1 million salary and $200,000 to $300,000 minimum salaries on the bottom. No, idiots.
No.
This is them trying to pass off positive PR. I had to take a class on this when I was in school where they try to say, oh, well, what's the best way to avoid a dramatic situation when you're in a panic? Well, come up with a positive PR statement to spin it so it doesn't look as bad. Okay? That's what this is. This is the WNBA saying, oh, panic, panic, panic. Hit the button, hit the panic button. Well, what's their way of hitting the panic button? Making a dumb statement that makes no sense.
Nick, why, though, do you believe the WNBPA now is demanding a direct revenue sharing model similar to the NBA's basketball-related income split instead of the league's proposed fixed salary increase with a separate high threshold revenue bonus pool? Well, because the WNBA is still apparently reeling from COVID. Give me a break.
So why are they demanding a direct revenue sharing model? The reason is because they have more star players in the WNBA.
More exposure.
So they want a more direct piece of the action, which, again, I can't believe I have to say this because people don't get it. Look at MLB. Look at NBA. The NHL, which came around after many, many decades of CBA labor issues.
Yeah.
Soccer, even. I mean, everyone is almost at a 50-50% revenue split. And I'll look this up one more time for accuracy, but let's look up WNBA revenue sharing percentage to the players. Okay. 9.3%. 9.3%.
That sounds about right.
Are you kidding me? And the statement says here, WNBA players receive 9.3% of the league's revenue, a figure that is significantly lower than their NBA counterparts who receive approximately 50%. Now,
I think there's one league that's like 51-49 or 52 or 52-48, I want to say.
I think baseball, is the highest on the players' side, I want to say. I'll look that up too. But you're telling me 9.3% is a sufficient amount for the amount of star names that are in the WNBA currently?
Unbelievable.
Let's see, what percentage of MLB revenue goes to players? Oh, it's not the highest.
I think it might be the NHL right now, actually, believe it or not.
But that's 2024. Where's...
Oh, we don't have any new numbers yet.
Okay, so the last current number from 2024, the MLB made the players made 47%.
Sheesh.
Now, it says the 2025 projections, while specific 2025 figures are not yet available, the revenue sharing structure from the collective bargaining agreement is likely to result in a similar percentage for players in 2025. So it's not going
Mm,
up.
no way.
So it says the 47% share is slightly lower than the roughly 50% share received by players in the NFL, NBA, and NHL. So the NFL,
Shame.
so the NHL gets more.
Yeah, they do.
And then also, I didn't realize MLB has this too, but the revenue sharing system is a key component of MLB's finances. According to a new CBA, each team pools 48% of its local revenues, which are then shared among all teams to create a more level playing field. That's the luxury tax.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to believe.
I don't either. I
But
mean,
not the number that should be stunning to everybody is 9.3%.
and it better not be with those stupid, well, no one watches the product or this or that. Like, no, like that was before the league even gained popularity over the last couple of years. I mean, again, I'm someone who goes back to like 2008, being a fan of this league, in 2004, 2008, all the way till now, and seeing how the league has gone from local television now to being on ESPN. And Nick, more importantly, they've been on national TV not for dumb plays or brawls or fights breaking out, but for actual game highlights now, not where they once were.
Okay, can I point out something else with that dumb argument that people make? I mean, I didn't know if we were going to talk about this later, but it fits this point now. What about the Versant deal that was just made with USA Network? 2.2 billion.
And look at how much they're going to get from the new ABC, ESPN, and NBC deal.
I'm sorry, that's no accident based on numbers. So don't give me this bullshit that people are not watching the WNBA. Heck, Playback, which is our partner here that we're doing the show on, is supposed to have the full WNBA season permanently starting next year.
We had access to Unrivaled last year at one point. That was one thing. And not to compare apples and oranges, Nick, the Seattle Torrent of the PWHL, another league that's kind of in a way taken off and gaining mainstream traction. Their home opener is now the highest attended women's pro hockey game in history, when they had over 16,000 at Climate Pledge Arena this past weekend when they played Minnesota. So, I mean, obviously people are watching these games, whether people like it or not.
And that's the problem. Like, people are making dumb statements. Look at this. The New York Post just dropped their story. Let's open up their story and see how they fudged the headline. I'm curious. WNBA and union agreed to another extension for CBA talks with possible work stoppage delayed for now. Okay, so they actually got the headline pretty much right.
No, they're right. Again, that it's like, once more again, the inevitable was kind of avoided, though, within the last hour. Again, folks, we're just joining us here on Press Row. Semi code red, semi more yellow light, blinking red light in a way here.
Light, if you ask me.
I would agree. Again, Nick Morgeson, Cal McClure with you here until about 11 o'clock Pacific time, about 1 a.m., 2 a.m. Eastern here again, as we kind of, in a way, recap what has gone on. Again, WNBA, WNBPA agreed to a full 6-week extension for the CBA expiring today. Again, that literally came out 25 minutes or so, 30 minutes before we actually came on the air for tonight's show. That is where things currently stand. Nick, getting back on track real quick here. The current CBA's revenue targets were never triggered. What specific features of that system, like the targets and the 30% cost of revenue deduction, ensure that player pay shrinks as revenue rises? Where, again, Nick, we kind of talked about this a little bit, though. But this goes back that the league has to basically hit moving archery targets,
which basically means
trigger these like incentive bonuses as the years have gone on. And again, that was a loophole put in place 5 flipping years ago when they were coming out of the COVID season, though, at the IMG Academy.
First of all, moving targets, that sounds like they could just keep moving them up every single year and they'll never hit the number, which means they'll never have to pay the players.
You know what it is? It's like watching cliffhangers or the range game on The Price is Right every morning. That's what it feels like.
And then they just fall off the side of the mountain because they don't hit the number.
They fall off the cliff, or the price to go to Cancun is not in the red box on the range game.
Right. I mean, this sounds like a little bit of fraud. I'm not gonna lie. Like this sounds like a little bit of fraud. That
I mean, we could say it. This is fishy. It's shady. It's bogus. I mean, I don't know where else you want me to go with
it
this.
also sounds like they're kind of finagling the law. See, a great interview for this show would be talking to like a sports contractual lawyer, if we could find one,
That would be something.
because maybe they can, or a labor lawyer actually would be better.
That would be. Ooh, that would be a good one. Actually, now that I think about it.
I have to I have to think of who. I'm sure we could find one if we look, but
Oh yeah.
because they could kind of tell us where the finagling and where the BS is in some of this, but the moving targets on reaching revenue, that could just be if they agreed to that 5 years ago and the WNBA has a stranglehold over that, they're just going to keep moving that number higher, higher, and higher and say we didn't hit the number.
Yeah, and I think that right there just feels like it's fraud. It reminds me of that State Farm commercial. You got to be quicker than that. You got to be quicker than that.
Yes. Wait, was that State Farm or was that
That was State
Geico?
Farm. That was State Farm.
Oh, right. Yes. Oh, you got to be quicker than that. Yes.
I mean, that loophole though just seems like, Nick, that it's setting the league back further and further and further. If that you have to hit certain thresholds or goals or targets, like this is a damn board meeting. I mean, Nick, imagine that though. For example, if San Diego FC, who just got knocked out of the MLS Cup playoffs last night at home, they brought in 28,604 on average to their home games. Could you imagine if a first year team, for example, had that kind of a moving target that we have to average this attendance and then people can get bonus pay or that they're going to fire ticket reps though? Like that's just what this feels like though, is that the league sets beyond unattainable goals and they set the bar so damn high that when they don't hit it, they have reasons to move it up further and further because they're never, in their mind, going to get there. Or am I off base?
Well, no, you're right. I was just going to say, for example, the Valkyries, who sold out every game.
Who would have thought that? And they get to the playoffs in year one, too.
Well, and also the BS that they couldn't play in their own arena because they paid more money for other events to be there, which still blows my mind to this day that they had to play where, in the Sharks arena or wherever it was.
Peace Center in San Jose.
I'm sorry, that is bullshit to the millionth degree. You had a fucking team that sold out in its opening freaking season, and you can't let it play in its own arena to thank the fans for showing up.
22 straight sellouts to start off their franchise history.
I mean, it kind of reminds me of the Golden Knights a little bit too, with all the
year one for them. Yeah.
And what was it? That year they went to the Stanley Cup
final and lost to the Capitals. SDFC went first year franchise in MLS.
Yeah.
They shattered records across the league, most wins for an expansion team, most points in the standings, first, number one seed in the Western Conference, all that stuff until they crashed out last night, though. But they averaged 28,604 people at a 32,000 seat soccer team, Nick. They blew the merchandise and retail records of every other club. They were the first team, Nick, since 1998 to join the league, as Chicago did in 98, to get to the conference final in year one. And again, they ultimately crashed out, though. But even then, though, I don't see them moving around these stupid invisible targets that they have to hit to trigger bonuses for the franchise or for players or for people in the boardrooms like the WNBA seems to be doing here.
So I see some interesting responses, not like big names, but they actually make some good points.
What do they have?
So somebody said 3 different groups, and actually I remember this now that this person is saying this. 3 different groups each paid $250 million for rights to a franchise last year because there's totally no money in the WNBA, right?
Yeah, and the Aces got sold to Mark Davis for I think about 150, I want to say. And now
now they're worth like 800.
And now the franchise fees are going up and up and up and up. And now if you sell a franchise, it's going up and up and up and up and up and up.
From what I understand, he bought it at like 125, 150, and I think it's now worth like 800 or close to $1 billion.
With what, 3 titles in 4 years? Yeah.
Oh God, I could see that. I mean, I'm going to look this up. Let's see, Mark Davis. bought the Aces for?
Because he originally bought them from MGM after the Spurs sold them to Vegas because they were losing money running the Silver Stars every
Okay,
year.
you're going to laugh when I tell you what he bought them for in 2021. You want to take a guess?
50 million. 25 million. 10. 5. 1.
Close enough. 2 million.
And now they're worth like $800 million after
No,
going to
okay.
Vegas.
So I exaggerated that number partially because that's what I thought I had heard. He bought them for 2 million in 21,
Okay.
and now they're worth $300 million.
Still, though.
Hey, 150x cap on your value? Come on. That's a little fishy if you ask me.
3 titles in 4 years. Nick, players have been very clear, though. They want their compensation to grow proportionally with the league's exploding value. But how does the league, though, justify resisting that demand given the massive impending new media right deals? How about we get a commissioner in there who wants to work with the players and not just shit upon them? How about that?
Or this goes back to what I said very early on, that stop thinking that you're the only league in town, and that maybe you should work with the Players Era or work with Unrivaled or work with Project B and say, hey, let's partner together and let's create revenue together as all the WNBA leagues, and then maybe all the players get more money if we work together. So the player statement mentioned that they expect substantive movement. The problem is they're not going to get that.
They're not going to.
It's literally going to be the game Pong all over again. They're just going to slowly the ball, and usually the ball travels a little bit faster. This is literally going to be like a snail's pace, like tapping the ball, and it's literally going to take its time, like to literally go across and hit the other side of the wall. Like, if they're expecting
why do I feel like, Nick, before we get to the commercial break, why do I feel like this is going to be a tug of war that will be the first person who blinks loses here in this and over these next 6 weeks?
Unfortunately, it can't be that way,
and it's not going to be, though,
because first of all, there can't be a knockdown winner because both sides have to agree to the terms of the CBA. So if one side doesn't agree, then you're going to be stuck in a stalemate until they figure out. Now, maybe they have to get a arbitrator involved in this scenario. Now, that 100% doesn't work either.
No.
Because both sides still have to agree in some way, shape, or form to the terms and conditions, as they say in every contract. Well, you got to make sure you agree to all the terms and conditions when you sign the contract.
Terms apply.
Well, before we get back to all that, let's take a small break and tell you about Novig. This show is powered by Novig, America's #1 sports prediction market. You're 10 times more likely to win long-term compared to a traditional sports book because you're playing against real users and not the house. Sign up today and use promo code ETB Network, ETBNETWORK, for exclusive bonuses. And if you spend $5, you will get $50 in bonus plays to get you started off right.
And don't forget, fans, that we are following this high-stakes news live on Playback TV. Join the community and connect with fellow sports diehards over on Playback TV. Find the ETB Network community and never watch sports alone again. We are live at playback.tv/ETB Network. That is ETBNETWORK. All right, next segment 3, final hour for the moderate red, not even code red. But of course, Nick, the bottleneck now there is a bottleneck, though, come January 9th, as both the Toronto Tempo and Portland Fire expansion drafts are now required before the season begins. If a deal is signed on January 9th, how does that less than 1 week to conduct the expansion draft and then open up free agency impact team operations? Where again, Nick, I think that we were probably more, looking through this about like past lockouts, where again, I think that there's a lot of stipulations in place that there can't be contact among team reps and players. Obviously, they're locked out of facilities. They can't use, the gym at the practice facility.
Well, not currently.
Not currently. But I mean, I don't know how much of a bottleneck, though, Nick, it will create, though. But I think it will create some chaos, though, by the time that we get to the first week of January.
So I'm trying to look this up for dates because I'm trying to figure out why they chose January 9th, if there was a specific timeline for why they're choosing January 9th.
All I know is it's the day before DiMartino debuts the Weekend Playback Lounge on the 10th.
Ah, I see what you did there. But it says the dates for the 2026 WNBA expansive draft have not been officially announced, but it is expected to take place in December of 25.
So they're going to proceed on with it despite them negotiating the CBA come sometime this week, I'm guessing, or
Well, it
next week.
says it's expected to take place in December 2025 following the WNBA and Players Union collective bargaining agreement negotiations, which basically means now that they pushed it back to January 9th, how the hell can they have an expansion draft in this month currently?
That's what's so confusing is how can some league operations be running? Now, again, I think I may have said, though, on Monday in the hour-long press row episode before the triple header for the NBA, or on Wednesday, is that I think the only reason why I think that there's still business going as usual is that they
Loopholes.
still had the agreement before the negotiation took place to extend it. Now, again, that went to my point, though, about the Mercury unveiling a brand new logo and new uniforms and all that stuff, though, at Mortgage Matchup Center in Phoenix. Again, that confusing name. Thanks a lot, Matt Ishbia. But I think, though, that some kind of semblance that there's a pulse involving that, the league isn't on life support yet. But it's still like just so damn confusing about, what needs to happen going forward. And I think that free agency is obviously a big thing. Because again, Nick, I think that we both have been saying it, though. What is it? 80% of the league is a free agent this
I
season, or
think it's
something like
more
that.
than that, actually. I'm going to look
85,
that up too.
90% of the league is free agents.
I'm looking that up. Keep going. I'll find it.
Because I mean, if that's the case, though, Nick, and this goes on till January, because usually January is when they begin to get players signed, usually across the league. And if this further complicates things, now you're really beginning to worry about how rosters are going to be built, though, for the upcoming year, if in fact that there is a season.
Approximately 80% of WNBA players will be free agents in 2026, making it a historic offseason with potentially widespread movement. The primary reason is that many veteran contracts aligned with the now expired CBA agreement, leaving almost every player who is not on a rookie scale contract a free agent.
So in a way, this probably sounds like why I'm of the belief that a lot of Major League Baseball contracts are not going to be more than a year or two because of the impending lockout in 27.
Except for what was signed before this year. But,
correct, of course.
Let's see, who is not a free agent? Most players on rookie contracts, such as Aaliyah Boston, Caitlin Clark, and Angel Reese, are still under contract and not part of the free agent class. The only two veterans not on rookie contracts who were confirmed to be signed were Lexi Brown and Kalani Brown. While many will re-sign with their current teams, the larger number of free agents could lead to significant player movement in the wildest free agency period in league history. Many players opted out of their contracts early to align with the 2026 season.
Not surprised by that. Nick, with free agency typically starting in mid-January, how does pushing the CBA deadline to January 9th create a logistical crisis for the entire offseason player movement calendar? I think that's where things would really begin, I think, Nick, to hit code red would be on the 9th. Is that by that middle part of January is when player movement really does begin in the W. So you're looking at hopefully having that deal done, hopefully, knock on wood or whatever, which I doubt will happen. But like I said, though, you're creating a massive mess if the 10th comes and there's no deal in place and then no one knows where the hell they're playing if there's a season next year, like I already said.
Well, I guess we can go back to a statement from before where you mentioned about leverage.
Yeah.
That I guess you could say that the 80% being all the experienced, but I don't want to call them veteran because that sounds kind of mean, but the experienced players in the league finally said, you know what? We're all going to budge together and we're going to make sure our contracts end so that if there is a lockout, they can't forcibly hold us here against our will if we want to go play somewhere else.
So would that probably go to the leverage question from earlier that maybe it's not all the players, Nick, but just this pocket of players who have the leverage?
Yeah, because the rookie players are kind of fucked partially because I guess
It's like,
technically,
but it's like any rookie deal in sports, though. Like you're kind of confined to that team for the first couple years of your
well,
time.
I'm talking about the lockout's sake.
Yeah,
That technically, the players that are rookie salaried are under that situation. The others that are free agents, they can't technically stop them from going to Unrival, going to Project B, going to Players Era, or wherever else there's going to be basketball at this point. They can't do anything. They're free agents.
yeah. I mean, I don't really know what to think about that either. I mean, obviously, you would hope, university speaking, you're hoping that the deal gets done. But then you have to wonder about the fallout when it if and when it doesn't get signed, because now again you've got 80% of your league free agents. No one is going to know where they're playing minus those rookie contract players, as you already mentioned. And if you're a fan, though, Nick, of any team, you're left in limbo, like kind of high and dry. But I think you're also borderline concerned who's going to be on my roster come next season. And I think also if you're a coaching staff, you're wondering the same thing too.
And by the way, the WNBA social media accounts have been silent since October 30th.
So they've been dormant for the whole time that the extension was put out for the last 30 days.
And the last thing they put out were retweets from the NFLPA and the MLSPA when they put out those graphics that they stand with the players, which
So in a way, they're not even helping their own bleeping cause right now.
I think maybe the WNBPA might have said, like the reps have finally said, look, shut the fuck up, get in the damn room, negotiate, stop with the public nonsense, and get a freaking deal done.
That kind of goes to my point about they've done nothing except that, and that's where you're hoping, if in fact that Philippou and Shelburn's reporting is accurate, though, Nick, or whoever reported, though, that they had 4 days of discussions during the week of Thanksgiving, but we had no white smoke from the chimney. But that you're hoping they're actually putting their money where their mouth is, what money they have left over, and actually going to the table and not making this all a public stunt issue or airing out grievances on the web.
See, this hurts fans more than it hurts these
Absolutely it
two
does.
sides. Because what about the young girls who want to see one day that, oh, I can be a player in this league, or young girls who are in middle school and high school and eventually want to go to college and become a college basketball player. They want to play in the big March Madness tournament. They want to they can eventually say, well, I can go represent my gender in a league and have that ability. And because we're being silly over dollars and cents. Now, let me say this, that you and I are not naive that these are businesses and they have to be profitable to make money. Of course, you don't want to see another NFL situation where Roger Goodell is over obsessive with the bottom line, and
Right.
they're making like between 15 billion and 17 billion dollars a year, and they're willing to sacrifice fandom for an extra $1 billion of revenue
Right.
because they need 9 international games next year.
Oh, please.
Or they need, or Rogers said that going forward, he wants to have 16 international games a season so that every team plays in a game. Excuse me. That's what I worry too with the WNBA. Because in a scary sense, have you realized that they're the only league that hasn't really experimented with international league games?
I'm not surprised they haven't, for the fact that the players already have to go overseas to make the larger revenue.
But I'm
As
saying,
is.
aren't you a little surprised though that they haven't played international league games?
I mean, does going to Toronto next year for the tempo count?
No.
I mean, that's all I can
Because
think
the
of.
NBA technically, because the NBA is the large entity that controls everything. By the way, I don't want to hear this because this is another misnomer that people say also, that the NBA is here and the WNBA is here, and the W doesn't need the NBA to run the operations. Sorry, that's not the case.
Same with the NBA G League.
I'll tell you right now, because there are a lot of people out there who make these lies up, saying, well, screw the NBA. We don't need them to run the operations for the WNBA. Wrong.
Yeah.
And this is not let me be clear. This is not a male versus female debate. This is not that. The NBA is in charge of all the revenue sourcing. They're in charge of all the stadiums stuff because a lot of the teams play in NBA arenas.
Except for a few, yes.
Except for what, like 3 or 4, I think?
Dallas, Atlanta, Toronto, and I think there's one more.
But most of the major market ones share a arena with an NBA team.
Well, I mean, no, Seattle, probably Seattle because the Sonics aren't there anymore. So that'd be the 4.
Okay. My point is, though, most of them share.
Yeah, Vegas. So that there's 5. So, but no, Sparks, the Mercury, Portland will be playing at Moda Center. Indiana, Minnesota, New York, they all play at NBA arenas.
I mean, you could technically say, though, that the NBA does use, it's Thomas and Mack Center, right, where they play?
No, they play at Michelob Ultra Arena at Mandalay Bay.
Oh, so they don't play at Thomas and Mack Center.
They don't play at Thomas and Mack. They play
because that's what the NBA. That's what the NBA
does.
Well, also the NBA will use it for All-Star festivities sometimes when they go to Vegas.
And the NBA Cup is going to be at T-Mobile Arena where the Golden Knights play in a couple of weeks.
Oh, wow. So they're not even using the Thomas and Mack Center. It's huge, by the way. I've been inside of it before. What was the point of me? What was the point that I was making that for?
Regarding the whole like male versus female thing when it comes to the boardroom for the league operations.
Okay. So they need the NBA. And I'm not talking about from a leadership standpoint. Because, again, even though she's not really a commissioner, she's still the commissioner of the WNBA and Kathy Engelbert and the rest of the board that runs the W. But if you noticed, who was the one doing the interviews on NBC's, what's their morning show called again? Today Show?
Adam Silver.
And why was Adam Silver doing the interviews?
Because the NBA is the moneymaker for the league.
Well, and the NBA owns the entity that is the WNBA. And I'm going to confirm that just to be sure. But I know that the NBA owns 42% of the WNBA. There you go.
Nick, why is the involvement of NBA owners who control roughly 60% of the W, to your point, complicated this negotiation, particularly regarding the argument that the WNBA is losing money despite skyrocketing franchise valuations?
See, I know more about this than I probably should know just from having a brother who works in financial advising, excuse me. So when you have big business men or women that run a business, when they're trying to do the taxes and stuff, they try to keep everything together. That way it becomes one, everything is an entity. If you notice, a lot of times they'll create separate LLCs to house separate businesses because you get a lower percentage when you have separate LLCs for every little business. If you notice sometimes when they talk about the ownership groups, like on the big monitors and stuff, it'll say blah, 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 LLC owns, and it's like some random name. It's because if they do it under regulatory ownership, the taxes are going to be higher because of the amount of revenue that's coming in. If they do it under its own separate LLC arrangement, they can make the taxes would be lower.
Yeah, and I think, Nick, we may have in a way talked a bit about that because I think we went back to an old, not an older, but about to a hot commodity when the Liberty and Aces were facing off 2 years in a row for the finals. And the story came out about our guy, Joe Tsai, owner of the Nets, Liberty, and the Seals in San Diego.
Tsai. Yeah.
I love Joe. I love his wife. They're great people. I've met Joe before when he first brought the Seals to San Diego for the National Lacrosse League.
I wish there was a way to talk to him because he's a really good business guy.
He is. He's very quiet, actually. He's very much to himself. I will say that about Joe in the time I've been
He
around him at lacrosse games here in town.
he took over at a time when the Nets were going through that ownership saga with Mikhail Prokhorov,
Yes.
which the Russian billionaire, and then I think because he got involved in politics, he had to sell the team off. For now, for the first couple of years, he was fine. He actually was willing to spend money, which at the time a lot of owners were not doing.
Right.
He kind of changed that trend, but then of course when politics hits, you got to divest and get
Correct.
out. And then Joe came in. I like him. He's not noisy.
No.
Um, even though I love Mark Cuban, like, and I think he's great and he's actually good for the sport. Sometimes you don't have to be noisy about everything, and that's where I think Cy fits in.
Yeah, and Nick, I'm tying that in though about Joe and Mark Davis because let's remember though that this league had the audacity to fine both clubs like $500,000
The
because of the
airplane.
charter flight issues in 2021 and
We talked
2022.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why? Because the owner was actually spending money, or or I thought about it a different way. Now that you've said it, is that the league saying, "Shh, don't spend money. That way they don't see that we're actually spending money on people."
I mean, it could be. But again, Nick, why do you believe though that the involvement of the NBA owners who again control roughly 60%, we have kind of in a way talked about that too. Why would they complicate the negotiation process, particularly regarding the argument that the league is losing money despite skyrocketing franchise values, as we already have talked about so many times too on Press Row?
All right, we got to kind of separate this into two because it's two
Yes.
separate thoughts.
It's not a full 60%, but it's like fairly
No, no,
close.
no, not that part. We got to separate because there's two. There's technically two questions in here. So one is involvement of NBA owners owning roughly 60% of the WNBA. What complicates this negotiation is that there's two CBAs and you have to follow two different CBAs. One where the NBA and the owners have a revenue split of 50% or almost 50-50, and you have the W which is 91 to 9%. So what makes this complicated is you have two different CBAs, two different leagues, but they're being treated as under one entity, under the NBA.
Right.
So in a very complicated way, what I'm trying to say is that there's a conflict of interest under the same business entity, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now the other part,
League
re-
losing money despite the fact that team values are skyrocketing.
it's just not true. It's a lie. They're not losing money. We talked about it, like revenues, and not just in the W, but MLB, NBA, NFL, NHL. Do you realize like that's the new hot commodity, owning a sports franchise?
Yeah, and we talked about
Because
that, I think, a little bit earlier on MTGP on Leftovers tonight with you, me, and DiMartino about how you and I have mentioned several times about how soccer's become the big hot commodity for athletes to invest in. As I've said here in San Diego with SDFC, with Manny Machado having an investor stake in the franchise, Alex Morgan having investment stake in the Wave, as does Jimmy Butler, Kevin Durant, James Harden, you name it. LeBron, of course, also having it too.
let's see. So Harden owns it has a minority stake in the Dynamo and the Dash,
That's MLS and NWSL in Houston.
which are two hot commodities right now: soccer and the women's soccer league.
Kevin Durant has ownership equity of the Philadelphia Union, and I think a club over in Europe somewhere.
If I'm not mistaken, between James Harden and Kevin Durant, like European soccer teams, because there's no limit. I think they each have like 4 or 5 different European stakes. Like what is it called? Saint Germain or one of the
Pot is Saint Germain.
I forgot which, if it's Harden or Durant, but I know that one of them owns.
Oh, here we go. Okay, hang on. Kevin Durant holds minority stake in MLS's Philadelphia Union and Partis Saint Germain per ESPN. LeBron has ownership of Liverpool FC due to Fenway Sports. Magic Johnson, LAFC, and the Washington Spirit. Giannis investor stake of Nashville SC, Steve Nash, Vancouver Whitecaps, and Spanish club Mallorca, James Harden, Houston Dynamo, and Houston Dash, Luka Doncic, Real Madrid, Dwayne Wade, RCD Espanyol, Russell Westbrook, Leeds, Jason Kidd, Everton, Jimmy Butler, Alex Morgan, San Diego Wave FC, Manny Machado, San Diego FC.
Because it's all about investment now. That's why. And I think I explained this on Leftovers that back in the day, you had guys like Allen Iverson and Antoine Walker who made hundreds of millions of dollars, and because of their bad habits, went bankrupt. Now, Allen Iverson, I think, got a lifetime deal with Reebok, so he'll be fine. Antoine Walker, I don't know the whole story, but he went close to bankrupt. But now you're seeing players as they come up through the NIL system in college and eventually making it to the professional leagues. Like, they're investing in stuff as soon as they get into the professional league that they're in.
Yeah.
I mean, look at this. James Harden, like we said, has 2 ownerships, and then he also is an investor in various brands: Therabody, Body Armor, Art of Sport, Stance, and Para, and is as a board member of Saks, which is a luxury retailer.
I have $1 investment in Yum Foods.
Well, you're talking about stock investment. These are
I know. I'm kidding.
These are real, like, ownership investments.
Hey, $1.
Hey, it's the first dollar I ever had. Here we go. So I looked up more of the Kevin Durant stuff. So he's got a 5% stake in the Philadelphia Union, a minority stake in the Paris Saint-Germain. He is also a co-owner of Gotham FC,
who just won the NWSL championship.
And this is another one that people don't realize. He owns a pickleball team.
Yes, that is true.
And it says he has stakes in other ventures like TMRW Sports, which I don't know what. I mean, I'm clicking just quick to see what, if I can find it. So he owns some other teams. So it says he entered a strategic partnership with Qatar Sports Investment, the owners of the UEFA Champions League, Paris Saint-Germain, through his firm, The Boardroom, which is his content company. Durant previously held an indirect stake in PSG via Arctos Sports Partners, which acquired 12.5% of the club in 20. So they're all doing investments. That's the big thing here.
Yeah.
Like you see NBA investing more in the Euro League. Okay, so TMRW Sports is the sports venture co-founded by Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy.
Ah, should have known.
That's the one that has like that new golf
TGL,
which was, I think they had a deal with ESPN like in the summer.
Yeah,
like
I thought it was great. You got to watch golf in 2 hours. It was awesome.
It's like virtual golf a little bit, also like where you hit it against the screen, kind of. It's kind of cool, actually.
It was pretty cool, actually. I thought it was great.
Actually, he's also an investor in Athletes Unlimited, also,
which is another outlet for athletes to still play their game at a high level. So, all right, Nick, we're gonna get to the last segment here, but first, if you're looking for better odds, Novig has you covered. Unless you're in California, with Novig, you always get better prices than traditional sports books, and you can even set your own odds to the market. It's the only free exchange out there, meaning that you can keep 100% of your winnings. Sign up now for free with the promo code ETB Network. That is ETBNETWORK, and get 1,000 Novig coins and $5 in Novig cash to start playing today. But please do so responsibly.
And also, if you're watching this great content, like our Code Red, or semi-Crimson Code Red show here for the WNBA, not Lockout, we're delivering content and analysis on this story across all platforms. Check out the entire ETB Network's library at youtube.com/ETB Network. We've surpassed 1,000 subscribers, and with your help, we're pushing to 4,000 watch hours. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Do it.
You can also find us, too, on Kick and Twitch. We're also there at ETB Network as well, and on multiple platforms, too, on YouTube as we go. All right, Nick, last segment here for the night at this rate. Nick, we're going to kind of go and play the long game here and like some future scenarios and some leverage. Nick, the WNBPA initially asked for a 6-week extension. Does the league successfully pushing for a shorter window mean that the Players Association's leverage is waning, or are the players using the deadline of January 9th now as a firm put up or shut up moment for both sides? I mean, I don't know what to, again, I don't know what to buy. I don't know if I'm going to buy or sell my stock in this league here by the time that day rolls around.
Okay. My answer shouldn't surprise you fully, but the answer is neither.
Neither.
Because,
I mean, again, now, to be very firm, though, again, we did say maybe that the only people who have leverage is the 80% of players who are free agents because they were on contracts that ran out when last season did end.
well, if you want to call it purposely or strategically, whatever your choice is, I would say it's more strategically than purposely. But
Agreed.
the answer is neither. No one, like, we're learning that leverage, the word leverage in this situation, you might as well just take a blowtorch and burn it and throw it down in the dungeon show that we do on certain nights, because leverage doesn't exist in this situation. And the reason it doesn't exist is because both sides can't agree to deals.
Right.
So, does the league successfully pushing for a shorter window? No, absolutely not. First of all, who says they're pushing for a shorter window?
No, I mean, well, again, to recap again from the top of the show, though, Nick, we first heard about a 1-day extension, a 3-week extension. Now here we are at 6 weeks now, going to January 9th.
No, I get that. But at the same time, there's no leverage. And until the two sides decide to stop beating each other up, we're going to be stuck at a deadlock.
We're going to be in neutral for the next several weeks.
I mean, if they're going to keep fighting at this rate, maybe we might lose some games. Now, I read correctly that the WNBA draft, I think, is on April 13th, I think.
That sounds about right, yes.
So I guess that's technically the next date. I don't know why January 9th is anything, unless that's just when the free agency period starts.
Free agency and then the expansion draft for the 2 new teams.
See, the WNBA has to take some blame for that because you decided to unveil 3 new teams coming in the next 2 to 3 years.
Right.
Having legally, we can't call it a lockout yet. Even though this is more of a front that looks like a lockout. Mm-hmm. But you have 2 new teams that you need to get off the ground. And you're not doing a good job right now by fighting with the WNBPA, saying, oh, we don't agree with your revenue structure. We want $1 million. Oh, sorry. Well, we're at 800,000. So, I don't know. There's no leverage here. The answer is neither.
Nick, more importantly, we teased this a little bit earlier, though, but what role, though, does a new domestically unrivaled play in the WNBPA strategy, especially since top players could theoretically skip the season without losing significant domestic income by playing an unrivaled?
Salaries.
There you go.
I mean,
ownership stake,
salaries. I mean, forget unrivaled for a second, even though they were the first one to enter the fray to compete.
What if January 9th is the day before the opening of Unrivaled? That just now came into my head.
I'm looking that up right now.
To tie into our longstanding conspiracy theory, Fee and Stewie being WNB VPs.
I just looked it up. You're
and them running Unrivaled. Was the state picked upon before Unrivaled season begins in January?
Wow, this is effed up by the WNBA and the WNBPA. The second season, the 2026 season, is scheduled to run from January 5th to March 4th.
Bingo. There's your answer.
That's effed up.
There's your answer.
But that's effed up.
I know, but there's your answer.
But why would they do it
4 days after the season starts, though, when the Playback Lounge debuts at 9 o'clock Pacific time?
That's effed up.
Holy shit. Oh my gosh.
But wait a minute. Hold on. Hold on. Both sides had to agree.
And they both did? I don't know why.
Well, for the WNBA, they could care less about Unrivaled.
We
But,
heard it from Kathy's mouth when I first joined you in April of this year.
but why did the WNBPA agree? Figure that one out.
Yeah. 4 days after Unrivaled begins.
Something's not adding up. See, remember how I said we're not getting the full story?
The puzzle is it's like we're sitting here figuring out a Rubik's cube for the last hour and 35 minutes.
Or it's like, where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? Like,
Hey, there's a throwback.
but well, you know me by now. I've done that many times. I'm trying to
But
read
no,
some more
I was
information.
literally though, Nick, thinking about that because January 9th kept like there's gotta be some kind of significant thing going on. Wait a second, Unrivaled. And then that question popped up.
But again, that doesn't
It
add up.
still makes no sense though. Why would it happen 4 days after it starts? And then why would the players agree to that deadline too?
Unless their intention was, fine, we'll let you have the optimal win of what it looks like on the surface. But our plan
when
is,
Unrivaled debuts season 2 and we kick your ass in ratings,
maybe we just don't come back.
maybe we won't come back. Which again goes to that whole 80% of the league being free agents. And I'm sure that a high majority of that slice of the pie, Nick, is all playing in Unrivaled in some way.
I mean, even the big names too. I think. Well, Angel's not playing Unrivaled. She's playing.
No, I think she stepped aside. I think, and obviously Caitlin has not played in either year yet. So,
But if we watched that video yesterday, I think that she might go to Project B. If I had to take a guess, that was a name they were throwing out.
ooh, that'd be something.
And they were saying Caitlin too. Like, first of all, and for people who don't know this, they made the announcements about Project B. There's a $2 million minimum. Let me say that again. $2 million minimum salary.
Disclaimer: it is Saudi Arabian back too.
Well, the Saudi Public Interest Fund, which unfortunately we're just going to have to get used to that because that's just how everything is funded now. I don't love it. You don't love it, but it's just the way sports are funded, unfortunately. I mean, do you remember the speculation they said about Caitlin Clark at the end of the video?
I remember hearing about it. Yeah.
So because we didn't show the video, you and I were trying to watch it for information, just to catch up.
I know, because there's been so much going on.
So they were speculating, what if, because the Saudi Public Interest Fund is basically an unlimited money pit, because it's run by oil futures and all that stuff. They have more money than you and I will ever see in a lifetime. Let's put it that way. They were saying, what happens if they offered Caitlin Clark like $100 million deal?
Jeez.
First of all, I said, I don't think that's possible.
Right.
But if she was offered $100 million deal, you know what she would go tell the NBA? WNBA?
Screw you.
I don't need you ever again.
Yeah.
I mean, look what, and this is not the best example, but just because of out of the Saudi Public Interest Fund example, look at what Live Golf did in the beginning.
Yeah.
Look at all the money they were, and I just want to pull that up for context's sake really fast because
we got time. You're good. Yeah. I mean, look at the money that they threw at Phil Mickelson and John Rahm and all those guys who are playing a broken form of golf over in, with no one there, and TV ratings are in the toilet.
Okay, so top 5 largest contracts currently. Number 1, John Rahm, $300 million. Number 2, Phil Mickelson, $200 million. Brooks Koepka, $130 million. Dustin Johnson, $125 million. Bryson DeChambeau, $125 million. So the difference between live and play on the PGA Tour. On the PGA Tour, you have your endorsements. They usually pay for the events. You play for a prize fund. In live, they throw a contract at you, and then you just show up to events, but you're being paid that money.
And you're playing team golf, and you're playing 54 holes, not 72.
But there is a prize fund also for Live, which is wild to think
That's,
about.
by the way, but it's also why it's called Live Golf, because the Roman numeral for 54 is LIV.
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that. But there's 20 million up for grabs in an individual portion of the 54-hole tournaments, 5 million in the team competition for any given event. The winner takes home 4 million. Think about that. 4 million for the winner.
Good grief.
But here's the issue, though. Because it's Saudi backed, TV networks don't want to carry it. Fox almost carried it, but they're all afraid of it. So they're playing events, but they have no coverage.
They're on the CW.
Are they still on the CW?
Yeah.
But who the fuck knows the CW? Like,
Tom
I have the
Brenneman's on there.
CW.
Oh, I know.
Why is he on the CW, though?
Yeah, I wonder why.
But the point I'm getting at is if that Project B gets off the ground, and I think that has a better chance because of the names that are attached to it already.
Right.
Especially with Sophie Cunningham coming out and making a huge video that she's going to be part of the league. And also, you're giving them ownership. Unrivaled players got ownership. Project B. Now, if everybody's getting ownership, what percentage are you really getting? It can't be more than 1%.
Yeah. If you're lucky.
I want to look that up really quick, too. Project B players ownership stakes. I don't even know if this is going to be public information. Let's see. Equity stake players will receive an ownership stake in the league in addition to their salary. Okay, so they don't have it. That might be private. If I had to take a guess.
It wouldn't surprise me.
But maybe certain bigger players get higher percentage than other players. Maybe.
Yeah, you would think so.
But the W is going to die if Kathy's just going to keep looking at these and saying, "Well, screw you, Project B. Screw you, Unrivaled." The Players Era, which is the new one now, which I think is doing more college than it is pro stuff.
Yeah, it's all college, yeah.
But if she's going to keep saying "screw you" to these private entities that are competitors, even though she denies it,
right,
the W is going to die because the players are just going to go where the money is.
Yeah, and Nick, speaking of Kathy's favorite thing, though, what specific PR strategy must the league employ now throughout December to prove that they are serious about a new deal, given the historical distrust stemming from the previous CBA and also Collier's comments about Engelbert's leadership right before the lockout would have actually started, though, a few months ago?
Zero, because no one believes Kathy.
No.
So she could put out the nicest PR statement of all time. Just like if you remember the WNBA finals, when she kept saying, "We're going to put together a group." Do you remember? And you and I were like, what the hell?
And Nick, I hate to go down the rabbit hole, but I will. Can we just say that trusting the commissioner's office in any sports like trusting the government?
I think there's different levels of it.
Just in a way of like how this league has been run. Though there's been some good, but I think, Nick, there's been more bad than there's been good. We can talk about the media rights and expanding the league and stuff and blah, 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 blah. You know, Caitlin and Angel joining and how that's exploded the league in popularity. You know, the media right deals that are, in fact, you know, they're locked into come next season if, in fact, they get the year off the ground, though. But if you trust what any commissioner out there says, then you're in the wrong frame of mind. I'm sorry.
Yeah. This is a tough one because
I mean, look, I don't expect like a play-by-play or like a day-by-day play-by-play of what they discuss. I don't care what was on the menu for lunch, if someone slapped somebody, if there was a wrestling match or any of that. Like, at least give us a sign of life that you're alive and breathing and you have a pulse. I mean, okay. Team USA winning 3-on-3 basketball or whatever was great. That doesn't involve about what we're talking about here on this podcast.
That's what they were retweeting over the last day or two, the Team USA stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute. I think I said it to you before. I'm like, This is what you're sharing right now?
when you're literally hours away, a day away, and literally you had to, you know, put up a half court heave to win the game by calling for a extension with the PA 30 minutes before the deadline hit. Their PR's all over the place. I hate it.
They need to go hire a new PR team because right now the PR team, unless it's one of those situations like where they have a PR team but she doesn't listen to it, could be that scenario too.
I mean, like I said, I don't want them to give like, a day by day rundown of what's going on. They can, release a statement like they did to Alexa and Ramona and FOS about, hey, we're extending the, okay, at least that's like a sign of life. But you
Not
need to do
really.
you need to do something different though in December and leading up to January 9th though, where you're at least doing something about your league, not about USA basketball or about the NBA or the G League or whatever. Like, you need to focus on yourself right now more than ever because you're going to be leaving a lot of fans, including us here on Playback, pretty damn high and dry if you're going to be, as shallow and quiet and silent as you've been, though, for the last several weeks.
I just thought of something else too because of the date. So the theory I'm thinking of is the reason why it's January 9th. The holidays.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that was touched upon, though, when we talked about it, that they went beyond January 1st, obviously. Don't want to do that, but at
No,
least
but come on. You're telling me you can't do it in 3 to 4 weeks?
you need a full 6 weeks to do what? Sit around the table and just call each other names? Come on now.
You suck. No, you suck. No, you suck.
No, we
Like,
all suck.
but I'm saying that's the reason why it's January 9th. This has nothing to do with whether they find labor peace or not, which who the hell knows when that's going to be. But God forbid because remember they claimed in Annie's article that they said they were working through the Thanksgiving holiday.
Yeah, again, I don't buy that because where's the proof in the pudding that any players, any reps,
No one.
anyone from the front office actually was in a boardroom somewhere in Manhattan, New York, above the Garden, actually wanting to work to get this league back on track and not derailed and being a full-blown disaster and wildfire right now off the rails.
I really don't know. And
It's the whole thing of like, we need proof or it didn't happen.
which
You
for the
know?
WNBA, I think you do need more proof because how many times did Kathy say during her press conference at the WNBA finals that, oh, we're going to put together this group
This
initiative?
task force to better our officials. Oh,
I'm sorry, Kathy. Where is that again?
yeah. That's
If
why I
if
said.
I had my cricket sound effect, I'd play it right now.
That's why I said that. It's the whole saying, Nick, about hey, I met somebody. Picks or it didn't happen.
I hate that when people
Show
say that
me.
too.
In this case, though, show me the damn proof that you actually were in a boardroom Thanksgiving Day with a giant turkey on the table. 34th and Penn above the Garden, actually working with players over Zoom or something.
That's where I worked.
You're welcome, New York City.
But I don't know because, like I said at the very very beginning, was that what was I going? That basically, if they don't have full on proof that they're doing something, no one's going to believe what's going on.
No.
And in this situation, Kathy has probably lied more than any commissioner I've ever seen in professional sports. Now, we've all gotten on Roger Goodell before because he said some pretty dumb, obnoxious things. But usually, for the most part, when he says they're going to do something, the league does it. The
More times
NBA,
than not.
what? More times than
More
not,
times than
yeah.
not.
The NBA, which I've railed on for years, when they say they're going to do things, for the most part, they get them done. Major League Baseball, that's a different debate and discussion for another day. The NHL, you would know better than me.
I mean, come on. If they're getting a CBA deal done that includes a 84-game regular season, a shortened preseason, The players have I think the players have like a 52 or 53% stake of the revenue. You're letting Gary Bettman be better than you at your commissioner's job? Don Garber's never had a strike in 30 years as MLS commissioner. You're letting hockey and soccer, the foreign sports to North American pro sports fans, beat your brains in. Embarrassing.
Okay, so the NHL is 50-50 on the dot.
I think it might be going up a little bit more come next season, but we'll see.
I think that's part of the CBA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Along with
But
the 84 game regular season.
But that could be an issue too, the amount of games. Because if you remember, that was a complaint that the W players had, where remember they said there was like fatigue going on because they were adding games.
They went to a 44 game season schedule after playing 34 games.
Now, partially, I would say,
yeah, and you already said that a while back when we talked about that.
Because if you want more revenue, you got to play more games. Unfortunately, that's just the name of the game. Why do you think the NFL is playing more international games? Because they get more revenue that way.
Why do you think the NHL is going to 84 games next season too?
How many were they playing usually?
82.
Also, that's not a significant difference, but
late September start date and a shorter season.
Oh, so they're adding to they're subtracting to add, essentially
subtraction to addition.
But in a sense, so 2 extra games. How many teams are there?
32.
Okay, so that's 16 more games that they can revenue across. Yeah. So,
and I think that would guarantee 2 more games versus the rival opponent. So LA versus Anaheim, for example.
Right. So that adds more revenue. So I guess I originally was only looking at it as a 2-game scenario. It's really 16 games that they're really looking at adding revenue, which is significant to the NHL in a lot of ways.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know how to feel about this. Where I don't know how you fix this. I really don't, and I don't know if the commissioner will be able to fix it.
I highly doubt it. Real quick. So with this in mind, if in fact that when the 84 game season does happen, Nick, per what I'm finding here, the move to the 84 game schedule for the NHL reportedly set for next season is intended to create a more balanced and consistent schedule, mainly for divisional rivalries. The general breakdown of an 84 game schedule based on the current 32 team 2 conference structure is anticipated to be the following: seven teams in the 28 games versus divisional opponents, so 4 versus the other 7 teams in your division, 3 versus the 8 other conference opponents, and 2 games versus the 16 teams in the other conference for 84 games.
Wow. So they really made a significant change.
So 4 games versus the 7 teams in your division, 3 games versus the 8 teams in the other division of your conference within your conference confine, and then 16 versus the Eastern or Western Conference, 1 home, 1 away.
See, it's amazing how all the other leagues can negotiate, but the others can't.
Agreed. Nick, we got time for maybe one more question here, and this is one that kind of goes back to, I think, the last one revolving around. Well, actually, we'll get to both. Why not? Nick, if a deal is in fact reached, though, is a potential hybrid model which includes guaranteed salary minimums and a lower than NBA revenue sharing percentage. Is that perhaps the most likely compromise? And if so, what is the absolute lowest revenue sharing percentage that the Players Association will or should accept from the league? I would say probably what?
Between 20 and 30%.
That's what I was thinking.
If we're not even in close to 30%.
I was going to say between 25 and 30.
So they got to target like 30%, somewhere around there. Is it right though? No. Is it in the right direction? Yeah. Because that's more of the revenue that the owners don't get. it's hard to refer to this as a hybrid model
Yeah, I don't
because
think it is.
because guaranteed salaries and minimums are not attached to NBA revenue sharing.
Right. They're not.
So revenue sharing is based on what the league brings in, like from TV contracts and from league wide sponsors and season tickets and apparel.
Right.
So that's what the revenue sharing percentage is based on. The guaranteed salary and the minimums is based on the salary cap, and uh, that's why they want to attach it to league revenue because that would determine a percentage of what the salary cap would become.
I'm
So
I'm, I'm thinking they have to accept between 25 and 30, no exceptions.
they got they got to get to like 30, and if they say, oh, we'll go from 9.3 to 15%, it's not enough. Like it's
No.
just not. It's they got to get to somewhere near 30. It's not fair to the players that their names, and this is going to sound ridiculous when I say it, but in an ironic way, the name, image, likeness of the players. Gee, where have we heard that one before?
Gallage.
If you think about it, unfortunately, the WNBA is being treated like the NIL rules in college sports.
Yeah, they are. All right, Nick, last question for the show. This one actually kind of flew by the night, but Nick, what exact signs or public statements will we need to see from either side over these next 40 days to signal a deal is truly imminent rather than just another delay or delaying the inevitable once again?
You ever heard of the statement when there's issues in business that the less talking you do, the better?
Yeah.
I think you just got to stop talking through the media. Now, if you notice, the WNBA players have not said much since.
So when Scorched Earth, when we first did Code Red a few months ago.
Because I'm wondering if the legal team of the WNBPA finally said, shut up. You're making
Gag
it
order.
worse. You're making
Shut
it
up.
worse. Because even though we totally get where she's coming from, where the players are coming from, that they're grossly underpaid in a lot of ways, and people are trying to make up the 50 million in losses nonsense, which again, the only people who know what the profit and losses are the WNBA and the WNBPA.
Right. Yeah, I think you're right, Nick, that this is where I think though, Nick, both sides, it's time to either
Less
put
is
up.
more.
Yeah, less is more, put up or shut up, get something done. You know, that's where I think that we would have to see some kind of progress be made. And, you hope that there's, headlines that are going to be in good news and no more bad news. But
Both sides are going to have to concede some things too. They're not
yeah,
going to have a choice,
you're gonna have to make concessions to make things actually work out for everybody.
which includes the revenue percentage. They're going to have to concede in some way. If you don't concede on that revenue percentage number, then we may not have a season at this rate, the
And
way
that's
this is
what we
going.
don't want to see happen.
And both sides are going to have to make major concessions both ways. The players might have to take a lower ish salary, but make it up on the revenue percentage
Yeah.
side. Or they got to pick one or the other. Do they want the higher salary now and the lower revenue that maybe builds up
Mhm.
over the CBA agreement? Or do they take the lower salary now and put escalators on both so that they grow throughout the CBA that they agree to, if they ever agree to it?
As long as
CBA
they
deal.
don't roll eels, we'll be fine. Nick, how about you get us out of here with the Novig read here before we get out of here for the night?
Yes. Speaking of Novig, whether you want to play for fun or for cash, Novig makes it possible. Trade Novig coins to hone your strategies or play with Novig Cash for rewards and real prizes. They cover 13 sports from MLB, NFL, NBA, NHL, and soccer to UFC, golf, and college sports. Basically, they have every sport. Download Novig today. Use code ETB Network, ETBNETWORK, and get rewarded with exclusive sign-up bonuses. And if you spend $5, you get $50 in bonus plays. So please jump aboard with us, except for the people in California. Which actually, as I look up at the clock, at least on the East Coast time, you still have another hour.
I know, right?
And then, unfortunately, Novik leaves the California Spear.
And with that in mind, folks, we would like to wrap up this emergency code red episode of Press Row. The deadline passed, but the work stoppage was averted just barely. The WNBA and WNBPA avoided disaster, we think, by agreeing to an extension until January 9th of next year at 8:30 p.m. Pacific time, 11:30 p.m. Eastern. But the core revenue issues remain unsolved. We'll be tracking this movement between the two sides hourly, and we'll return with another code red the moment there is significant news to report on. For Nick Morganson out in Plainview, New York, I'm Cal McClurg in San Diego. We appreciate you for watching and joining us here. As you might have found us on social media, we are at ETB Network on all social platforms, including Twitter, IG, and TikTok, and also subscribe at youtube.com/ETB Network. And we'll be back with you folks for our full Press Row show on Thursday, December 4th at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 o'clock Eastern. And also, Nick, we have more basketball coming everyone's way on Monday.
Yeah, so at least it's Monday on the East Coast right now. Long day. Mondays are usually our long day. So we have unnecessary wagers from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern. That's our gambling show. So make sure you check into that. 6:20 to 6:40 p.m. Eastern time. Noteworthy in the NCAA with Will Charlton. Or as we like
A lot of Kiffin talk coming your way, that's for sure.
A lot of Kiffin talk, a lot of coach firings talk. We like to refer to him as the 60 Minutes voice.
Yeah, we do.
If you listen, you'll understand why. And then at 7:15 p.m. Eastern, our pre-show for NBA on NBC doubleheader. Is it Peacock or NBC?
Peacock on Monday.
Oh, Peacock Monday. So NBA doubleheader for Peacock coming your way. Or are we doing one game? No, we're doing a one-game window. One game window. Which is a Bulls game. I think that's Bulls Wizards, right?
What do we have? Yes, we do. No, Bulls and Magic tomorrow.
Or is it Bulls and Magic?
Bulls and Magic.
Okay. And Zan Bando, our resident Chicago fan, and hosts so many shows that I can't keep track on a list, will be joining us for that full window. So, and actually, Trevor should be joining us too.
Yes.
So, it's going to be a party.
Finally.
So, that's our day. Again, unnecessary wagers, 5 p.m. Eastern. Noteworthy in the NCAA, 6:20 p.m. Eastern. Followed by our NBA pre-show at 7:15 p.m., leading into games at 7:30. And, yeah, it's going to be a long Monday.
It will be, but it's always good, though, Nick, when it's a one-game window for the NBA because we get out of here a little bit earlier than we like to, which is good.
Mean, how many hours did I put in on Sunday into Monday?
10.
No, I think I started at 12:45 p.m. Eastern time.
So 12:45 to 4 is what? 12 or 10? 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. That's 7 hours right there for football.
Then you and I did leftovers.
It's 10. It's 10. 7 hours of football, leftovers, and then 2 more for Code Red. 10 hours.
Holy fuck. How do we keep doing these things?
No kidding. I had to go and grab some hot tea for some vocal recovery before we came on the air tonight.
Hey, this is a good test for that 24-hour stream we're trying to put together.
Yeah, that's years down the road.
But
hopefully not. Hopefully not.
Also, last thing, as you brought up, Playback Lounge is heading our way very soon in the new year.
Yeah.
January 5th January 5th is the first date, which is a Sunday into a Monday because it's midnight to 2 a.m. Eastern, bar theme style show. Not really a talk show, but just like a show to talk about sports in the late night. And if you have virgin clean ears, it's not the show for you. I'm just going to tell that to you right now. It's all sports, but it's going to be politically incorrect. Have you ever heard was it Bill Maher, I think, who hosted Politically Incorrect?
Real Time with Bill Maher.
Oh, maybe no. Oh crap! Now I got to look this up because I don't want to give the wrong information. It
Wrong.
was.
That ain't me first time.
Oh no, it was Bill Maher. Okay, yeah, Bill Maher hosted a show called Politically Incorrect, which is ironic, by the way. So yeah, like if you want all the politically incorrect nonsense, then come and check out the show with Cal and Playback Lounge Sunday into Monday midnight to 2 a.m. Eastern, and Nick DiMartino will be doing the weekend version on Saturday, probably from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern time. So we're giving you late nights. Late nights.
Late night television.
Don't watch that crappy late night talk show stuff. Don't watch Jimmy Kimmel. He sucks. I like Jimmy Fallon. I used to like James Corden too, because it wasn't about politics with him.
Yeah, too bad he retired, sadly.
Well, or he just went back to London. Whatever he decided to do. But make sure you follow us social media accounts at youtube.com/ETB Network, Kick and Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, not OnlyFans. But yes, everything at ETB Network. So make sure you follow us on all those platforms. The quicker you get us, we are over the 1,800 hour watch hour for YouTube. We're less than 1,200 hours away from 3,000 and less than 2,200 hours away from 4,000.
Let's go, baby.
If you get us to 3,000, we have some ideas because we have the ability to do some extra premium content on YouTube.
Yeah.
So the quicker you get us there, the quicker we can do more things.
That's all we ask.
4,000 watch hours. The quicker and maybe we do some giveaways once we start hitting those brand deals. You never know.
I know, right?
Well, until later today or tomorrow for you, which will be another long-ish day because the long days never stop. But on the East Coast, we've officially hit December, which means there's 1 month left until 2026.
Can you believe that? By the way, for those who are also curious too, we will have our Press Row's final show for the year.
Holy crap.
A bit of a retrospective of the year in sports business and media. December 29th.
It's a Monday.
Is a Monday. So keep that in mind. We'll be having like a 4-hour special to talk some media news, but also we will look back at the year that we had in sports media, in business, talk about, deaths in the sports world, of course, and all that good stuff. And then we will end off with probably 3 or 5 of our personal biggest stories of the year that we covered on the show.
Yeah. And next year, I think we've learned that we're not going to overwrite on the script so we can keep track of all the shows.
Correct.
And not choke and die either. But
it's not allowed here.
No, because there'd be a problem if that happened. No, but Press Row's been a fun experience, just kind of to get to do this show. I love the sports media, so just getting involved and doing it from a different perspective. And we are going to talk about social medias, which are going to be involved in the show next year. So you might get extra stuff on the side if there's breaking news in the media world. Also,
yeah.
So
one of our ideas I'm trying to take and run pretty soon, which is the Empty the Clock. Bring that back when it was the Empty the Bench update that you used to do, the CBS Sports Flash or Sports Minute update.
Yeah, it was an ETB Sports Minute back in the day,
and that's going to come back and be called Empty the Clock.
Yeah, and also we have a reality show in the works, which we are not a show about the Kardashians or dumb reality shit. We want to do like a talent show like AGT or BGT does. And
think of it as our version of ESPN's Dream Job. Hello, Casey Stern.
Yes. Hey, it'd be cool if we could somehow like get him to be a one-time
a guest
judge. Irony.
You
never know.
Anyway, I want to go to bed.
But I just keep thinking of stuff too. But benchmarks, which we're working on next year, we already have 2 episodes done.
Yeah.
And by the end of December, we might have 10 or 15 at least
Tom Albano's going to be doing a few for us. And Bando's got a 3-part Michael Jordan series he's working on, and also the Steve Bartman play from 2003.
Yeah, and Johnny said he's going to do some, and we have some others along the way. And then
Don't worry, Mr. Morgeson's doing some too about tennis and other things in baseball and football and basketball.
Yeah, and also we have a small market edition, which you're going to get back to.
Episode 2, by the way, does drop this upcoming Friday about the Clippers being cursed and about the new leg to the story involving the aspiration ordeal.
It's all a bunch of tree
But
huggers.
it's more about like the franchise. Now, yeah, you're saying, well, hey, the Clippers play in L.A. It's about the franchise as a whole. They went from Buffalo to my hometown to L.A., and they've been in the shadow of the Lakers forever. And just when you think they've got it in the bag, something brings them down. So we'll talk all about that too on Friday on your favorite podcast app at 10 a.m. Pacific time.
Yeah, so make sure you tune in all that. Plenty of content. So just because YouTube side will be on break starting after the week of the 14th for the last 2 weeks of the year, that's why we get ahead in the business. So there's plenty of audio content that you'll get to hear during our break, which is not really a break.
Yeah. And make sure you're subscribed to all of our shows on the podcast app, including Small Market Edition. Again, Benchmarks will be rolling out sometime later next month or in January. So we have the proverbial Nick ducks in the row for the next month already built out for our content.
Yeah, and like we said, Playback Lounge, that'll be starting in January, so make sure you tune in both a weekday and a weekend version. Yes,
Yeah.
we're going risky. We're starting off hot. Ugh, but until then,
coming in hot.
Like it's been one of those days. But until then, what a day, what a week, what a year, what a life, as I like to say
baby.
at the end of every show. For Kellen McClurg, I'm Nick Morgeson. This has been Press Row Code Red edition, the WNBA lockout that never happened, at least for now.
We'll see you all again on Thursday, December 4th, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 o'clock Eastern. Until then, I'm going to bed.
And we'll see you next time. And we'll see you later for NBA coverage. Believe it or not.
Basketball.
You haven't gotten to say that in a while either.
No, because I missed out last week.